organization Abacha Force of Change says it supports the calls for postponement of the local government elections, which are scheduled for October. That's after the IEC set up an inquiry into whether they would be free and fair during the COVID-19 pandemic. Its leader, Nhongo Solo, is joining us now to talk more about their perspective. Nhongo, a very good evening, good afternoon, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for being on Newsfeed PM. Let's begin with why you think holding elections in October would not be the best thing for South Africa's democracy.
Afternoon to you and the listeners at large. We are, as the organization, saying that elections on the 27th of October should actually continue, that in actually postponing the elections from the 27th of October will be unfair and also unconstitutional. So we are saying for us to actually experience the real free and fair elections, it's when we continue with the timetable that elections should actually take place on the 27th of October. And we argued these in three perspectives. So the legal perspective, the outcome and the consequences of what could happen should elections be postponed, and also on the fairness and safety of holding elections under COVID-19. And we argued that when we speak about the legalities of elections taking place, firstly, the term is expiring on the 1st of November. For all the councillors that are currently presiding over their seats. So we are saying that their term has expired, and also the 90 days that is given as an extra day after an expired day has also elapsed. So you are saying to us that if you want to continue, in fact, the application of the IEC to the Concord says that it's pleading with the court that should elections be postponed, the councillors should continue to be paid. So you are saying that the person must be paid even when their contract is over, but you are also dictating leadership over citizens that have voted for those leaders to be there, and they now want to vote for new leaders. But we then spoke also on free and fair elections. When we speak on fair and free elections, we must also include safety in it. But we also said, when we speak on legalities, we predicted when we did the presentation to the Commission that should the Commission not give a precise response, then this matter will go to court, which will further prolong the process. Now, when it goes to court, it is creating more uncertainty, both to the contestants and also to the voters. Now, what we are forgetting in this whole trail is what we call the independent candidates, who must start contesting also at their independent level. Now, proclamation has taken place legally. That means now the registration to vote should stop. And we did not have a weekend to register to vote. The only thing that we had was an online registration that only came late, with an outcome of less than 20,000 people who actually managed to register to vote online. I assisted about 10 people to register to vote online, and only one registration was successful. So even the registration to vote was not a successful practice, for many reasons. One, for the fact that not everyone has access to internet, but also secondly, that it was introduced at a later stage. So we are saying that that uncertainty is making voters to lose interest in the election trail, but it's also making the cost to vote decision not to be effective, because the voters and the candidates must hold it in their own hands to inform voters that they should vote. But when you are creating uncertainty, you are then making people to lose interest. Now, the IEC has applied to court, pleading with the court that they should at least respond by the 30th of August or by the 10th of September. That is late, and they're wasting time. The IEC should actually take it serious that elections might be on the 27th of October. They should make a register to vote weekend. They should continue to open online for people to register to vote, and they should indicate to independent candidates that it's time to register for them.
All right, and firstly, apologies because I did misrepresent your view and said that you support calls to push the elections back. Apologies for that, my error. But based on what you're saying, right, you're saying, yes, we should have elections in October with that 27th, that is the date proclaimed currently by the Cooperative Governance Minister. But at the same time, it would be essentially a large gathering of people who'd have to go out and vote, right? Given our low vaccination rates, firstly as a start, paired with what you've just said about how people have struggled to register using alternatives to going to an actual voter station, does that alone not create a setup where people would either A, be exposed to public health risk from COVID, and B, would already not have enough time to participate democratically because they are unable at this point to get their names on the voters' roll?
Fear can always be mitigated. When we put health protocols in place, we can always mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Firstly, we are saying fear cannot be used as an excuse for elections to take place, because on a daily basis, people are living in fear that they are getting retrenched at work. On a daily basis, people are living in fear of what they will eat at night. So fear cannot be a measuring tool. What we then need to do is that we need to ensure that there are proper health protocols as we go to vote, as we queue on the voters. One, this will help us not to have those so many party agents of ANC that actually always, in all the elections, hack the voting station. So we must have one party agent from one political party or from one candidate, and we must ensure that there's social distancing, mask, and everything. So health protocols must be put to place. But let's challenge this thing. As we speak now, the government is trying to reintroduce the 350 grants. That on its own is a queue to go and receive a grant. Is that not similar to a queue to go and actually vote for a better future, for a better tomorrow, than to actually queue for a 350 that is not helping you with anything? As we speak now, we have incompetent leaders. When we look at the root of the riot that we are coming from now, it's not just because Zuma was in jail, but it's out of the frustrations of the social ills that we are facing on daily basis, the plights that young people are going through on daily basis. The frustrations are increasing. And now young people then, together with old people, they take out the frustrations through the riot, through the strikes, through the march. Now, if we don't go and vote on the 27th of October, then we are saying that it's okay for us to continue to have riots. It's okay for us to continue to go out there and march. Actually, those are the spreader events. Because they don't have any health protocols put in place.
We've got about a minute left. Apologies again for jumping in while you were still making a point. I wanted to ask you about the concerns that have been raised by some of the parties saying, well, the elections would disadvantage them, for example, because they wouldn't be able to go on their campaigns and have the large rallies. Ultimately, do you think postponing the elections would benefit the larger parties versus the smaller ones?
I think we should remind ourselves as citizens of the country that local elections have nothing to do with political parties. Local elections are about community activism, are about community development. So the people who should contest local elections should be people residing in that community. Why do you want a national rally when we are going to vote locally? We are on level 3. Independent candidates at a local level must then go and do door-to-door. Must then go and hold smaller meetings because we are on level 3. You can do gatherings. So if independent candidates at a small scale can believe that they can campaign, why can't huge parties can campaign? With the money they use for rallies, let them buy their voters data so that they watch their rally on social media. Government, together with IEC, should also work with networks like varsities. If varsities can give all their students free access to internet so that they attend classes online, then government can also give us free internet so that we listen to parties and candidates online. They should also work with ICASA or other media networks that every candidate must then have access to come and represent their vision and their views. In fact, it has always been unfair that the bigger parties, those who have money, always get a larger net airtime on media than those who don't have money or those who are incoming into elections. So say, for example, I've never contested elections. This is my first time contesting elections. Automatically, I don't have airtime on media. So government, together with IEC, should make means that each and every candidate gets airtime on local media and also on large media stream.
Nhongo, good to speak to you. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be chatting more as we continue to watch developments around the local government elections. For now, thank you for being on Newsfeed PM.